Five's plan to time travel to save his siblings from the apocalypse was successful, if only he did not accidentally scatter them all across different times in 1960. The first one through the portal of Ben and Klaus. Allison, who is still unable to speak, lands in 1961, Luther lands in 1962, Diego arrives on September 1st, 1963, Vanya arrives on October 12th, 1963, and Five arrives on November 25th, 1963, in the middle of the apocalypse, where he sees his siblings fighting soldiers and stopping explosions. Hazel explains what will happen in a week from now if the current timeline remains fractured. Soon after, a group of unknown men shows up and kills Hazel. Now Five has 10 days to find his siblings and stop the world from ending again. He finds himself back at the alley and notices a camera nearby and heads inside. He meets Elliot, who's been tracking the Hargreaves siblings and has photos of everyone's arrival over the last 3 years. Diego's in a medical facility. During one of his sessions, Lila, another patient, wants in on his escape plan. Five reunites with Diego and warns him about the apocalypse coming, and he agrees to help, but after he saves Kennedy. After accidentally hitting Vanya with her car, Sissy takes her in because she has no memory of anything. She spends her days taking care of Harlan and putting up with Chrissy's husband, Carl. Over to Klaus and Ben. They're heading back to San Francisco and are having some car trouble. They head over to a bar where Klaus steals a truck and gets arrested. Allison's now married to Raymond, and they're involved in the civil rights movement, awaiting Kennedy's visit to Dallas. Back at the mental facility, the unknown men who killed Hazel are now looking for Diego. Diego's going through with his escape plan, and on his way out he runs into Lila, who wants in. Luther's working as a boxer at Jack Ruby's nightclub. Five arrives and warns him about the second apocalypse, but he couldn't care any less. After being shot by Hazel, the handler survives and goes back to work, only to learn she's been replaced by AJ, who's got a fish tank for a head. Five's still trying to convince Luther to help, but he's still not on board. Luther sees Carl pestering Jack and escorts him out. He goes to hand him his wallet and sees Vanya, but she doesn't recognize him. Heading out, Five finds the tape Hazel left and brings it to Elliot. Allison and Ray are interrupted by 2 police officers who arrest Ray, claiming he assaulted a man the night before. Allison realizes it's the man she actually fought and begins to rumor the officers, but does not go through with it. The next day at the police station, Lila points out that Diego's plan to save Kennedy is ridiculous. Inside, Klaus is in jail where he meets Ray for the first time. Klaus gets released and Allison visits Ray, missing Klaus by only a few seconds. As she leaves, she notices a man with "Hello, Goodbye" written on his hand, a clear indication that Klaus was there. Elliot's freaked out by what he saw on the tape and demands answers from them. The footage shows a couple at Kennedy's parade a week from now, and upon further inspection, they spot their dad in the crowd. They decide to track him down before Diego does anything irrational. Luther arrives at the farm. He follows Vanya into the barn. She's happy someone knows who she is, and they both apologize for letting the other one down when Sissy shows up and gets Luther to leave. The Swedes gets a message in their golden tube, sending them after Vanya. After her interaction with Luther, Vanya started having flashbacks and drives away in Sissy's car. Five and Diego breaks in the umbrella company, where Five sees baby Pogo. Five tries talking to him, but he freaks out, attacks Five and escapes. Diego sees a mysterious man and follows him to an abandoned warehouse and begins to fight. He discovers it's his dad, who stabs him, leaving him for dead. Klaus, along with Ben, meets a group of wealthy women who took them in. Klaus realizes he can use Ben to perform feats of wonder and accidentally became a cult leader with his followers in India then San Francisco, almost getting trampled to death. He takes this opportunity to escape them and heads back to Dallas. Vanya runs into the Swedes and before you know it, they're shooting at her. She escapes into a cornfield and is now surrounded. She unleashes her powers, wiping them out. Lila rescues Diego and takes him back to Elliot's apartment. Five gets Elliot to track the atmospheric pressure that detected Vanya's powers. He gets her to leave and takes her back to Elliot. Allison is reunited with Klaus and they catch up. With Ray locked up, the group is on hold. However, Allison proposes a vote and the sit-in is back on. At the station, Ben uses his powers to haunt the officer and gets Ray out of jail. Five fills Vanya in on everything that's happened, except that she caused the apocalypse. Lila and Diego has a heart-to-heart as she tells him her parents were murdered. He leans into her kiss and is met with a slap, but the tension's short-lived. Ruby makes good on his promise and tracks Allison down, but when Luther shows up, he's greeted by Ray instead and learns Allison's now married. Allison has started the sit-in and is joined by the rest of the group as they get blasted with racist slurs. Klaus and Ben arrives at a store, and Klaus sees Dave, his former lover that died in the Vietnam War, and tries stopping him from enlisting. Ray joins Allison and the others and confronts her about Klaus and Luther. Suddenly it's all chaos. Allison sees officers beating Ray and uses her powers to get him off, and now Ray's freaked out. Luther's in the middle of his fight and cannot stay focused as he's thinking of Allison. Five and Varner shows up to see Luther's beatdown. Lila leaves Diego and heads to a motel where the handler is also present and working with her. The handler wants Lila to protect Five at all costs and reveals she hired the Swedes. After his not-so-victorious fight, Luther wakes up to Varner standing over his bed, and he confirms that she caused the apocalypse. Jack storms in and fires Luther. He gets angry, forcing Varner to leave, wanting no part of it. Klaus, on the other hand, finds Dave at a diner and tries convincing him not to enlist. Dave rejects him, and he turns home to see his cult has found him. Allison finds Ray in the middle of the group meeting, and he confronts her about the other night. She couldn't bring herself to explain and goes for a walk where she reunites with Luther. Luther tells her of the new apocalypse. Diego, Lyle and Five heads off to a party to find their father.
Cut the crap. Alright, my dim-witted brother might buy your bullshit, but I don't trust you for a second.
They head inside and Diego sees his mom. He approaches her and questions her about Reginald. Vanya makes it back to the farm and wants them to leave with her, but Sissy can't. Harlan overhears and runs off. Vanya follows him to a pond. Fairing is underwater. She uses her powers to manipulate the water to find Harlan at the bottom. She gets him back to shore. A magical, glowing spark floats from Vanya into Harlan. Back at the party, Five eavesdrops on the meeting and zaps himself out before he got caught, but lands in front of the Swedes. They enter a foot chase and Diego joins a fight in the hallway. Diego's confused when Lila arrives and chooses to help Five instead of him. Five breaks free and runs outside to catch his father, and recites ancient Greek that caught Reginald's attention. Five questions Lila's intentions and threatens to kill her. Five and Diego argues about what to do with their father when Luther reveals he went to visit him when he first arrived. In a flashback, Luther meets Reginald, and though Luther cites his time travel studies, Reginald refuses to believe it's his son. The Hargreaves siblings reunite, and Vanya, still without her memory, is thrilled to meet Allison. Things start to go sideways as Five explains the only option is to talk to their dad, but Luther is not on board. Five zaps himself outside where he finds Lila eavesdropping. Diego and Luther gets a note delivered from Reginald asking to meet with them. Five catches up to Lila and challenges her to a fight. Not long after, she zaps around confusing him, but then the handler reveals herself. The Swedes are hunting Diego and accidentally get caught in a trap. Allison arrives in Dallas. Three white boys chase her down the alleyway, and she finally spots a black beauty parlor and rushes inside, where the woman gets them to leave. Some time has passed and Allison's doing much better, and at this time she meets Ray. The handler strikes a deal with Five, promising his siblings return to the future if he takes care of the Commission's board of directors. Ben's trying to convince Klaus to not tell his group the world's about to end. He points out that they have no families, like Jill, who Ben also has a crush on. Ignoring Ben, Klaus comes clean to his followers, admitting he's a fraud, but everyone believes this to be another one of his teachings. Ben's pretty upset Klaus has been making his life a living hell and tries to attack him and accidentally gets stuck in his body. Before they can figure out what's happening, Klaus gets a visit from Dave, who came to apologize for punching him. Klaus tells him of his future in an attempt to get him to not enlist, but Dave's already done so. Allison tells Ray about his future, and he's fascinated by her powers and wants to see them in action. They head to a store where black people aren't allowed. Allison rumors one of the employees, and soon after they're having the time of their life. The Hargreaves siblings heads to meet Reginald. He arrives and he's not happy with the trouble they've caused him and still does not believe they're his children. Five mentions they all have powers and Reginald needs proof. They all display their powers and Vanya accidentally explains a fruit. Ben jumps in Klaus's body but failed to get a clear message out before they're separated again. Five gets a chance to talk to him without any interruption. Sissy and Vanya makes plans to escape, but Car's spying on them. Diego and Luther return to Elliot's apartment, where they found him dead. Five kills the board of directors. He delivers AJ to the handler and she hands him a briefcase and also mentions he has 90 minutes to round up his siblings to get him back to the future. Ben's waiting on Klaus to fall asleep in hopes of possessing his body. All he wanted was to speak to Jill, and not wanting to stand in the way of love, Klaus agrees but laid down a few ground rules. At the farm, Sissy tells Carl she's taking Harlan for a checkup and wants Vanya to tag along. Carl, however, has other plans and drives Vanya out at a ranch. Deeth and Diego is trying to figure out the message left behind, and Diego thinks Elliot's death is connected to the assassination. Five arrives and translates the writing, meaning an eye for an eye, and explains time's running out to get back to 2019. The handler reclaims her title, and her first day back as commissioner, she appoints Lila the head of security. Ben now possesses Klaus and is having the time of his life. Diego shows up and Ben tells him he's actually Ben, and Klaus tries to take back control. Back at the ranch, Carl threatens Vanya, revealing he knows about her and Sissy, and will separate their family if Vanya doesn't leave. Doing just that, she passes Five on the road. After refusing to go back, Vanya agrees to his terms, but arriving at the farmhouse, Vanya packs their bags to run away. Allison's not willing to leave her life behind. Ray interrupts and she explains the situation. He suggests she rumors him to forget about her when the Swedes arrive and attack. Allison regains her voice and rumors him to kill his brother. Diego's off burying Elliot when Lila shows up. She offers him a drink, but now it's too late after he realizes he got drugged. Time's running out. Klaus, Ben and Luther are the only ones who showed up. Vanya and Sissy are pulled over by the police, courtesy of Carl. She suspects something's wrong. She blasts them with energy, but she gets knocked unconscious. Vanya wakes up in an interrogation room. Agent Gibbs interrogates her but gets nothing out of her since she remembers nothing. As for the remaining Swede, he's devastated that he killed his brother, and after some inspection he realizes the handler has been setting them up this entire time. Lila thinks Diego can be an asset to the commission, but the handler disagrees. That's until Diego reveals he's only looking out for himself, which is all the handler needed, sending him to become an agent for the commission. After her brief conversation with Diego, Grace breaks in Reginald's office, where he found documents of the motorcade route. Reginald walks in on her, and refusing to be honest with her, Grace breaks up with him. Five plans to find his older self, who will arrive in Dallas in 1963 with a briefcase that he wants. Knowing it's a bad idea, Luther goes along with it anyway. Five tracks his older self to a pub and starts feeling sick. Young Five explains he wants the briefcase in exchange for the correct calculations so older Five can make it back to 2019 and stay an old man. Diego skips security orientation and sneaks in the infinite switchboard, where he's caught by Herb, who's actually a fan of Diego's. Kennedy arrives in Dallas, and instead of being shot, the FBI building in the background blows up. Taking a closer look, they see Vanya rising from the building. Diego looks to warn his siblings and asks Herb for help, who brings him to a group of agents who are working against the handler. Agent Gibbs torturing Vanya to get information out of her, showing her tailored version of her memories. Ray and Allison's cleaning up the mess they made when Diego and Herb shows up and explains that Vanya is about to end the world again. Vanya's memories comes rushing back to her all at once, overloading the machine. At the farm, Harlan's experiencing the same pain as Vanya. She loses control of her powers and releases a wave of energy. Diego, Allison and Klaus arrive to find everything's going horribly wrong. They try and figure out their next move. Allison goes first, trying to make it to Vanya, but an energy burst sends her flying. Next is Diego, then Klaus, but no one made it to her. Ben, however, successfully makes it down the hallway and finds Vanya. It's not going as planned, as Five slowly going insane, one of the many side effects of being near your older self. Five figures out older Five's plans to kill him and join his siblings as they jump back to 2019. Confused Luther is just along for the ride. The handler's getting ready for her swearing in at the commission when she gets news Diego has escaped. She threatens Lila to find Diego and kill him. Meanwhile, Herb breaks in the handler's office and sees AJ, who forms him to look for files 743. He gives them to Lila. Ben enters Vanya's mind and finds her hiding in a violin, helpless.
You aren't a monster. You're my sister. And right now, our siblings are risking everything out there trying to save you.
Ben starts to slowly fade as Vanya tries to hold on to him. He whispers a message for Klaus. Like Vanya, Harlan awakens. He sees his parents fighting and joins his mom, making Carl jealous. He reaches for the shotgun and it goes off in Harlan's direction, but using his powers, he repels the bullet in his dad's chest. Lila now knows her parents were killed by Five and AJ's stamp was on the order. She suggests that Diego was trying to destroy evidence to protect Five, giving her more reason to kill him. Things are not going well for Luther, as he gets caught in the middle of the two Fives fighting, zapping back and forth. Young Five opens a portal back to 2019 and tells him to jump in, but older Five refuses to go until he gets the numbers so he can remain as his older self. Luther gets hit by a fire extinguisher and Five makes a run for the briefcase. Luther pushes older Five through the portal, leaving behind a piece of the briefcase. Vanya awakens and finds her siblings. Since the FBI building didn't blow, Diego heads to save Kennedy attacking his dad, only to realize it's a decoy. Kennedy's killed, and Reginald's lookalike hands him a note. Reginald's furious the president was killed, and removes his skin suit, and he kills everyone. The Hargreaves siblings are fighting, trying to figure out what to do next, as they're being framed for Kennedy's assassination. Vanya gets a vision Harlan's in danger. Arriving at the farm, they see it snowing and there's a lightning storm. Sissy takes him to the barn where Harlan's stuck in the vortex he created. Vanya, being the only one, enters and tries calming him down. Klaus hears weird noises outside and finds the handler and Lila. Five and Diego tries to make peace, but their handler declares she's here for the person responsible for killing the board of directors. Five tells Diego he's responsible. Soon after, thousands of agents appears and attack. Diego is able to hold off the bullets for Five to make a run for it. Recovering from Harlan's blast, Vanya rises from them, taking all the agents out except the handler and Lila, who's now mimicking Vanya's powers, blasting them away. Lila's on the hunt for Five, taking out Luther and then Allison, using her own powers against her. Luther rushes to save Allison while Lila has found Five. The two starts fighting, with Lila mirroring all the Hargreaves' powers. The handler is busy trying to get Harlan out his bubble after knocking Sissy out. Five and Lila fight stops after Lila mentions what Five did to her parents, when Five tells her the handler ordered the hit and not AJ. Lila learns she's just like the Umbrella Academy, one of the 42 kids born on October 1st, 1989. The handler interrupts and kills the Umbrella Academy. Lila confronts the handler and she kills her. She notices Five still alive and looks to end him when she gets shot by the Swede. Five jumps back in time and stops the handler from killing everyone. The Swede kills her again. Lila makes a run for it, and Five calls a truce with the Swede. The Hargreaves siblings all rushes to Harlan and Sissy, and Vanya seemingly takes his powers. Vanya asks Sissy to come back to 2019, but instead thanks her for all she's done and tells her she'll be in California. Herb arrives and is now the new leader of the commission and helps the Hargreaves get back to 2019. Everyone says their goodbyes. They jump back to 2019 and sees a lot has changed. Reginald appears and introduces the Sparrow Academy.
This is the Sparrow Academy.